Hi, I'm Jess, and welcome to Spooky Movie Club. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Spooky Movie Club. It is March and our first movie of Zombie Month. We watched George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I was excited to rewatch this one. It is, as I said before, is my favorite one in the George Romero original trilogy. So you'll have to wait and find out to see if I still think that way. Also, I still have this ratchet nail polish on. I don't know how many episodes of this I've had nail polish like this. Probably 5 since Valentine's Day. So maybe next week it won't be here, but probably it'll still be here by next time. I'm going to go ahead and read the back of the box. Well, there's nothing on the back of this box, so I'm going to read the description off of Google. But if you want to skip ahead to the kind of discussion or next week's spooky movie, what next week's zombie movie is going to be, I'm going to leave timestamps below. Okay, let's get into it. 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so this it's good. It's good. I'm telling you guys. Okay. As hordes of zombies swarm over the U.S., the terrified populace tries everything in their power to escape the attack of the undead, but neither cities nor the countryside prove safe. In Pennsylvania, radio station employee Steven and his girlfriend Francine escape in the station helicopter, accompanied by 2 renegade SWAT members, Roger and Pete. The group retreats to the haven of an enclosed shopping center to make what could be humanity's last stand. The very simple premise. It mentions nothing about the mall. That's like a surprise that they end up in a mall. The budget was $500,000 US. I mean, back in like the late 70s, I feel like that was a decent amount. But we're going to get into my thoughts, and we're going to do the thoughts a little differently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss the 3 things that I came out thinking the most about, whether they're good, bad, or just general things I've noticed. I'm going to give 3 things, and I encourage you all to write down your 3 things down in the comments. So let's get to discussing. So the first thing I noticed the most was the music. I noticed that a lot more this watch, which is interesting because I know I mentioned in The Shining that I noticed the music a lot more in that film. So I'm not sure with these new remasters. I'm sure they are. Again, I hardly ever do my research, but there must be some sort of new audio mix because the music just seemed so much, this just was flourishing. And it's also maybe because I knew this time around that Goblin did a lot of the music for Dawn of the Dead because Dario Argento was a huge fan of Night of the Living Dead, and so he partly funded Dawn of the Dead, and even distributed it in Italy as under the name Zombie, though. He distributed it there with his own cut. Apparently that has more Goblin music in it. But I really enjoyed the music. I've always enjoyed it, especially the scene, and I don't think this is Goblin, but when they're doing the trucks and they're moving the trucks in front of the mall, it's very A-Team, we're on a mission and we're hopping in the car and we're going. And that was really fun and exciting. And because I noticed the music more, and it was booming and flourishing. You get really into it. And then it gets really sinister when the guy gets bitten by the zombie. It turns really quickly. But yeah, I thought the music was great. And it sounded a lot it reminded me a lot of Suspiria, which it should because it was Goblin. But I loved the moments of that exciting adventure, A-Team style mixed with the sinister Goblin music. I thought this watch was really enjoyable because I noticed it a lot more. My Rump Roast agrees. My second thing I want to discuss, which I noticed, is Francine's, not a great leading lady. She's kind of lame, but she's set up almost to be she's going to be this really strong, I know what I'm doing lady. She's in the news station. She seems like she's a not just a regular PA or something, but almost somewhat of a producer, because she's we can't run those things on. She's really telling that guy in the booth we can't run those things. And he's like, run it. We need ratings. The world's going to crap. And this guy's worried about ratings. But she's set up to be like this. She's going to be strong-willed. And then she gets in the helicopter with Flyboy, who's also a huge loser. Flyboy's the biggest loser, in my opinion. Anyway, they get to the gas station, and they meet a zombie, and Flyboy's getting an altercation with him, and he's like, run, and she's just like this. For like 5 minutes, she's just like, grab the sledgehammer, Francine. Grab the sledgehammer, whack the zombie in the head, but she's just like, she doesn't know what to do. It was kind of freaking lame. I thought that was really lame. I mean, in the end, she does learn how to fly the helicopter. She does get her and Pete, his name's Pete, out of there. So I guess she kind of redeems herself, but she's just kind of like a wet blanket. Just kind of found Francine as a wet blanket. Not like the main character in Day of the Dead. Maybe he kind of learned his lesson, because she's like real badass. She's getting crap done. In Dawn of the Dead, the Francine's just kind of like a wet blanket. Flyboy's also a wet blanket, so maybe they deserve each other. Flyboy, in my opinion, was the biggest loser. But I thought Peter was great. Like, Peter was my favorite character of the whole group, so I'm glad that he lived. Who was your favorite character? Do you also think Flyboy was a wet blanket? Because he almost shot Peter in the face. He's a terrible shot. Flyboy was just such a loser. Just can't even get over how much big of a loser he was. My third takeaway was, I have to talk about the makeup. I have to talk about Tom Savini, obviously. And it's not like the best makeup job that ever was. And I think going from a black and white film to kind of like a color film was kind of like a test. What will work, what will not work, because the zombies are just kind of like blue, gray, kind of like they have hypothermia. Nothing special, really. And when you would see blood, like somebody would get bit, and like the tearing of the skin, all that looked great. The blood almost looked fluorescent, almost like a hot pink color. So it's not the best kind of work, but I think that was kind of just like a victim of its time, because you're going from a black and white kind of to color and kind of learning the ropes with that. But that being said, even though that's not like the most gory looking zombie, I liked how they all still looked like humans. They were still kind of had their human element to them. And also the blue, gray, and like the fluorescent looking blood kind of give the movie the charm that I enjoy about it. So while it wasn't like the best makeup that ever was, it provided me a lot of kind of just like, oh, that's, they kind of look charming. It was charming. It's not scary per se, but just a very charming look to them. And yeah, those are my 3 things. What were your 3 things below? So my final thoughts on Dawn of the Dead is that I still think it is my favorite. Actually, I know it's my favorite in the George Romero original trilogy. And I think that's because, 1, it takes place in the mall. I love that setting. I've always loved everything about kind of being trapped in a mall. It's got that charm to it. And I also think it's just super believable. Everything that happens in the news station, how it's just all this chaotic mess around you. And even when they're flying over Pennsylvania and people are shooting the zombies and tailgating and drinking beer, like I can see that all happening now, like tomorrow, which I really enjoy. And the movie's a ton of fun. And I think that's why it is my favorite. And yeah, I just love it so much. Next week's spooky movie has a connection to Dawn of the Dead. Like we talked about earlier, Dario Argento released Dawn of the Dead in Italy as Zombie. So next week's spooky movie is going to be Lucio Fulci's film Zombie 2. It's called Zombie in the United States, but in Italy it was Zombie 2. And it's written that this was like the unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead. And this is my first Lucio Fulci film. and I am slightly terrified because he is as the back of the box says, a maestro of gore. I don't know if I'm going to regret this later. I mean, this zombie has worms coming out of his eyeballs. This looks terrifying. Um, this is my first Lucio Fulci film. I'm hoping this is the right one to start with for his kind of. I mean, this is like a whole different genre that we're getting into now. It's like Lucio Fulci, I feel like, is a whole other subgenre of horror because he's just like so gory. I'm going to assume that it's something on another level I've never seen before. But I am excited to watch this. Again, don't know if I'm going to regret it. All right, that wraps it up for our discussion of Dawn of the Dead. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to post your 3 things about Dawn of the Dead that you enjoyed, didn't enjoy, some other thoughts down below. We are going to do our viewing party of Zombie on Discord Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll do our discussion on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you can't make any of those, don't worry because I'll be back here on Sunday with our review. Bye.